How is it possible? In a world where celebrity love only lasts as long as an Instagram post, where billion-dollar marriages collapse in just 72 hours, there is one man who has refused all temptation. A man chased by millions of women across the planet, a man whose voice can melt anyone's heart, Bruno Mars, has chosen to disappear from Hollywood parties, just to return to the same woman for almost 13 years. What is the secret that makes him so loyal? And is it true that the very first night they met in a hotel restaurant in New York, even before the world knew who Bruno Mars was, already sealed their destiny? If you think you know everything about Bruno Mars, you are dead wrong. Welcome to this channel, where we don't just talk about gossip, we dissect the deepest hearts of legends. Today, we are not going to talk about Bruno Mars' new song. We are going to talk about the only love song he never wrote on paper, but has lived every single day. The love story between a child prodigy from Hawaii, who was nearly bankrupt, and a beautiful model from Harlem named Jessica Caban. Many of you may have only seen their rare paparazzi photos. But today, in this part 1, I will take you inside their home in the Hollywood Hills. I will tell you the second-by-second detail of their first meeting that was like a movie scene, and I will reveal the honest confession from their closest friends about the foundation of their love, which is called unconditional support and a shared passion for music and philanthropy. And at the end of part 2, I will reveal why their Rottweiler named Geronimo is the true guardian of their love, and a painful rumor that almost destroyed everything in 2023. So make sure you watch until the very last second, because this story will make you believe in true love again, even in the most impossible place. Let's start by forgetting all the Las Vegas spotlights, forgetting all the glittering Grammy Awards, forgetting all those expensive Versace suits. Let's go back to 2011, a very crucial year. In that year, the world did not fully know Bruno Mars. Yes, just the way your head exploded, but Bruno was not the Bruno Mars we know today. He was a 25-year-old young man who was still awkward with fame, still living in a modest apartment, still struggling to prove that he was not just a songwriter for other people. He had just released his first album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, and the pressure from the music industry was hitting him from all directions. The record label demanded he become more naughty, more of a bad boy, more sellable. They wanted him to be a playboy like most other R&B singers, because that was the formula for success at the time. And at the same time, in another corner of New York, there was a woman named Jessica Caban. She was not an ordinary woman. She was a very independent Puerto Rican model, the winner of Model Latina, a rising actress, an entrepreneur. Jessica was used to seeing powerful men in New York who tried to approach her with luxury cars and Rolex watches. She was sick of all the fakeness. Then, destiny brought them together in the most unexpected place. Not on the red carpet, not at an after-party full of alcohol and cameras. That meeting happened in a quiet hotel restaurant in New York. A dimly lit restaurant, with soft jazz music playing slowly. Bruno was there, not as a superstar, but as a young man having dinner alone after a tiring day of radio interviews. His face was tired. His signature fedora hat was slightly tilted. Jessica, according to the story from one of the waiters on duty that night, who was later interviewed by local media, walked in with some of her friends, laughing freely. Her laugh, that honest and loud laugh, was what first made Bruno look up. Eyewitnesses said, for a moment, time seemed to stop. Bruno, who was usually very shy in front of beautiful women, suddenly gathered all his courage. He didn't send a drink through the waiter like other arrogant men. He walked over himself. He didn't say, "Hey, I'm Bruno Mars." He just introduced himself as Peter Hernandez, his real name. And that's where the magic began. Their conversation that night lasted for hours. They didn't talk about pop music or modeling. They talked about family. About how Jessica was raised with very strong Puerto Rican family values. About how Bruno missed his family in Hawaii. And about how he was raised with music as the language of love in his home. They found that they both had the same wound, which was the fear of being abandoned in this very cruel industry. This is what the media has never understood. The media always writes, Bruno Mars is dating a model, as if Jessica is just a pretty model on the arm of a famous singer. That is the biggest insult to their story. Because their close friends, who finally agreed to speak up after years of silence, say something very different. A close friend, who did not want to be named, who often visits their home in the Hollywood Hills, once said this: their relationship is not based on fame. Their relationship is based on unconditional support. What does unconditional support mean? It means, when the whole world loves Bruno, Jessica is the only person who dares to tell him that he is wrong. And when the entire fashion industry rejected Jessica because she was considered not tall enough, Bruno was the only person who said that she was the most beautiful queen. Imagine the pressure Bruno faced. Every night, he has to perform in front of 20,000 people screaming, hysterically shouting his name, many of whom are women throwing underwear onto the stage. The temptation is real. The temptation is in every city, in every country. Many men would falter. Many Hollywood marriages are destroyed because of it. But Bruno has an anchor. That anchor is Jessica. Jessica was never blindly jealous. She is very emotionally intelligent. She understands that Bruno Mars on stage is a performer, an entertainer. But Peter Hernandez, who comes home, is hers entirely. She never demanded that Bruno stop being Bruno Mars. She actually pushed him to become even bigger. When Bruno felt insecure before his big performance at the Super Bowl, who was beside him whispering, "You were born for this, Jessica." When Bruno stayed up for 48 hours in the studio to finish the 24K Magic album and almost gave up from exhaustion, who brought him coffee and massaged his shoulders while saying, "One more song, baby?" Jessica. And vice versa. Jessica has big dreams in the world of fashion and acting. She doesn't want to be known only as Bruno Mars' girlfriend. And Bruno respects that deeply. He never forbade Jessica from having a career. He actually used his connections to open doors, but let Jessica walk through that door on her own. They have the same passion, not only in music, but in philanthropy. This is the second secret of their longevity that is rarely discussed. Many people don't know that they are both very active but very private donors. They never post their charity work on Instagram for praise. They both strongly believe in music education for children from underprivileged families. Bruno, who once felt what it was like to not have money to buy a guitar, and Jessica, who saw many talented children in Harlem who had no opportunity. Together they anonymously fund several music programs in Los Angeles and New York. Their friends said, when they are not on tour, their weekends are often spent not in fancy nightclubs, but visiting these communities. That's where they find true happiness. That's where their love is renewed. Because when you give together, you grow together. Now, let's talk about their palace. Not a golden palace as you might imagine. Their home in the Hollywood Hills is not a house for show. If you look from the outside, the house looks very private, surrounded by lush trees, far from the main road. There is no giant gate with the initials BM. None. Because for them, home is a sacred place. A place where Bruno can take off all his superstar masks and return to being Peter, who likes to cook scrambled eggs in the morning wearing a simple t-shirt. And inside that sacred house, there is a third family member who has been a silent witness to their entire love journey. A very large, very loyal, and very protective furry creature. His name is Geronimo. A Rottweiler dog that looks fierce on the outside, but has a very gentle heart on the inside. Geronimo is not just a regular guard dog bought for style. Geronimo is their child. The story of how Geronimo came into their lives is already very emotional. In 2017, when their relationship was being tested by the very dense world tour schedule of 24K Magic, which forced them to be separated for months, they felt an emptiness in that house. Jessica felt very lonely. Bruno, from thousands of kilometers away, knew that he could not always be at home. So he made a decision. He adopted Geronimo. Geronimo became the glue. When Bruno had to go on tour for 6 months, Geronimo protected Jessica. When Jessica cried for missing him, Geronimo would put his big head on her lap. And when Bruno finally came home exhausted after a concert, Geronimo was the first to greet him at the door with his tail wagging wildly, as if saying, "Welcome home, Dad." Their neighbors in the Hollywood Hills often see a very contrasting and very sweet sight. In the morning, you will see a man with sunglasses and a hoodie covering his head, who turns out to be one of the most famous singers in the world, walking with his giant Rottweiler dog and a beautiful woman beside him, without any bodyguards, without makeup, just laughing and enjoying the California sun. That is their true happiness. A simple happiness.